Of course, to start with, let me thank the organizing committee, the Student Welfare Association, and all these guys who, this is the second lecture I'm delivering in this kind of gathering, especially on behalf of this Student Welfare Association. And I'm extremely happy that when this time, just I think a week or 2 weeks back, when he talked to me about the request of delivering a lecture, I was already working on a very, very important issue which was happening around all of us. And I was very happy to see that some of you are going to find your identity immediately connected with what is going to be shown into this. Not because there is a name, His Holiness Dalai Lama, because the kind of work which is done in this university immediately allowed me to join the dots together. And when totally the dots were joined together, a beautiful picture emerged out of it, which we name cosmopolitanism. Right? So, good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about cosmopolitanism, an idea which is criticized as being utopian, non real, stupid by some of the people, and they call it a kind of ideological agenda of the West only. Cosmopolitanism. How do we understand this? What can be definition of this? Is it that you to be a cosmopolitan, that means to be a citizen of the world, you have to belong to the whole world? Or is it that being in Sarnath at this place, a secluded place, let's say, still I can call myself a cosmopolitan? Is it that to be a cosmopolitan in today's world, is it going to be a contradictory term or no? Let's try to dig deeper into different aspects of cosmopolitanism. And let me start my lecture. The subtitle I have given you is, there are two concepts of cosmopolitanism known as old theory of cosmopolitanism and new concept of cosmopolitanism. The old concept, the champion of that kind of ideological school is Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher who first time by the end of 18th century had given this idea in his publication of the perpetual peace. He wanted to see if peace can be maintained across the globe, and he came up with this idea of cosmopolitanism. And of course, if today you look around you, there are few human beings who are more than human beings today who not only preach about cosmopolitanism, but they have become the avatar, the apostles, the modern Buddha, the modern Christ of this term cosmopolitanism. And I wanted to stop it with the concept and the contribution of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right? The kind of books he has published, the kind of work he is doing, the kind of the idea of interbeing of a Vietnamese Buddhist philosopher. I'm sure some of you have written the books of him also because he is the most celebrated theorist. So I'm going to deal with from Kant to His Holiness Dalai Lama. In other words, we are going to take a long leap of faith from old concept of cosmopolitanism to new concept of cosmopolitanism, right? As a subtitle, I have also decided to call it another cosmopolitanism. Let me introduce you to this linguistic theory of deconstruction. Remember, now as a students, whenever you want to say, you can play with the word, with the English, and look at that. Actually, this is another, right? Another cosmopolitanism, which can literally mean another aspect or another version of cosmopolitanism. But what can you do? The deconstructive linguistic theories tell you that you can put anything in parenthesis like this and it becomes an others cosmopolitanism. And who is that other today in our world? Based on your skin, of your color, based on your ethnicity, based on your religion, based even you are human or not, we have created others, right from the concept of Renaissance to Enlightenment to colonization. So when colonizers came to our countries, they said that you are an other, right? When we looked at black people who are poorer than us, we said you are others, other. When human being looks at nature, which was not so important for them, they said, you are an others, other, the inferior other, right? Animals, we treat them as others, other. That means, if for modernization, I have to kill 1,000 trees, I have to cut down 1,000 trees, it's absolutely fine because trees are not equal to human beings, right? So, what other theorists have to say about that? That's why I have called it others cosmopolitanism. Here, I'm not going to talk to you about Western theorists. because either it is Kant or Hegel or Derrida or Habermas or Salah Ben Habib or Hannah Arendt. They all are going to talk about European concept of cosmopolitanism, right? The white, Eurocentric, powerful discourse where of course everything is centered into one particular geopolitical reality. If you will look at the globe as it is today, right, the population of the people who are not living in their country, those who are in exile, is 70 million, more than the population of France, more than population of England, more than population of Germany and any other European country. So many people are out of their own homeland. Who is going to talk about their cosmopolitan rights? Right? So I am going to discuss the concept of cosmopolitanism from not a privileged position. Right? The privileged position will be if I talk about Western Eurocentric concept. I am talking it from globalization from below, cosmopolitanism from below. The thinkers, the writers, the theorists who have been talking about looking at the other side of the coin. Am I making sense about the title? Right? So let's talk about this. It all started, as everything almost started, in Western English-speaking philosophy with Greek island, right? So in ancient Greek, when one question was asked to Diogenes of Sinope, he said, the question was asked, who are you? And he answered, I am a citizen of the world, right? This is where we always, whenever we talk about cosmopolitanism, we go back and we try to plant the seeds of the growth of the concept of cosmopolitanism. But I have a problem here. You are talking about an island, right? In the era, I am talking about 300 BC, right? He is almost contemporary or before Plato and Socrates even. How can a person until Renaissance came, till Columbus even in 1492 had come on another island, we even did not know that there is some other human civilization also. How come that a Greek person who even had not crossed the boundaries of one island knew the concept of the word and called himself a citizen of the word rather than being the citizen of a country? Is it possible for all of us to utter a sentence like this? And I am quite aware that when I am discussing this question with a community which itself is the victim of a displacement, right? Either it is an exile or migration, but the students who are sitting here in front of me, for you the concept of cosmopolitanism immediately becomes not only a concept of political right, but also the concept of ethical commitment to be associated with the rest of the world. Right? What do I mean by that, and why? How does it bother you at all? Shouldn't it happen that if anybody is going to violate my human rights in this era, the whole world should take and stand at my side? Do you want that? Do you want the whole world to take the issue of Tibet also on international forum and think that it is not only going to be an issue of Tibet, but it should be the issue of the human rights across the globe? Everybody would like to do that. Why? Because remember, we do not belong to a small unit like family or a broader unit like state and a country, but we are talking about being citizens of the world in the capacity of an ethical commitment, a normative theoretical framework, where being a human being, because I am a human being, because I also talk about human dignity, because we all are human being as together, we all belong to one extended, big, powerful family. Right? But then, if this is such a beautiful concept, how did it happen that 2 years back, when almost 80,000 Rohingyas came and they knocked at the border of India, India did not allow them to enter into its country? How come that those 70 million people, those who are today dispersed across the globe, are not capable to so easily enter into Canada and Australia, two countries which are the best example of the porous borders, the borders which are liberal enough to allow the other, the stranger to enter into this? Why there is again a discrimination like this, where you immediately stereotypically identify a Muslim with being a terrorist or a Tibetan so far as your dress, your culture or something or other is concerned? Why the world still looking at the rest of the world with the eyes of discrimination and let's say the feeling of hatred rather than a cosmopolitan concept which is there rather right from the Greek civilization. Before the concept of religion came, before the concept of humanity came, because I'm talking about the concept in the sense when they were proposed in sociology and political science, they all came very recently. Before that, the most ancient concept in this world is the concept of cosmopolitanism. But even today in 2019, we have to discuss this. Are we cosmopolitan enough to call ourselves the citizen of the world? Right? What is cosmopolitanism? Right? So let's first try to define it for all of you. It is an orientation, a willingness to engage with the other. And who is that other? For me, being an Indian, you are an other. Right? Anybody else can be other for you. So you like it or not, you want to listen to this concept or not. But yes, whenever we meet people, we immediately create others in our minds. Right? That concept of alterization or otherization, if is created for hatred, is very, very dangerous. Right? So it is an intellectual and aesthetic stance of openness towards divergent culture experiences, a search for contrast rather than uniformity. Now let me explain this. Let's not go into big English words and all that. Right? The concept is this. I got it. Ethically, first I have to understand the other. I have to respect your diversity. I have to be open up to know about your culture and your diversity, and I have to embrace it. The problems are, what if you do not let me embrace your culture? What if the other is not open towards other civilizations or culture, as Tibet or China or Japan or Korea for lot of years have always been closed societies for whatever reasons. I don't want to go into that. Right? What if an other is not willing to do that? Why not? The question comes this, and please understand these two terms. Is it not that when I'm saying cosmopolitanism, is it not that I'm trying to force all of you to be similar? Is it not that I'm going to paint all of you with the same color? Is it not that I am putting a forceful canopy of homogenization on all of you, denying your heterogeneity, your individuality, your specific culture, your identity? When I will say let's belong to the world, am I not saying let's forget your differences, the way we look different, the way languages are different, the way cultures are different. So is it not that cosmopolitanism is a pressure on all of us? Because it will forcefully tell us to bind together. What if my culture don't want to become part of that? What if a culture or a country I come from, because I'm scared that it can kill my culture or identity, I want to be specifically away from it? But comes the question, is it possible to have your own selection? Is such kind of seclusion is desirable? Will it allow you to thrive in your country or at any other place? Is going away from cosmopolitanism at all desirable? Right? So let me understand if you understood the concept of cosmopolitanism. Let's belong to the whole world, not to your nation. So when it comes on country, I always love to talk about my country. Why? Because I am bound together with a border, which is India. I sing the national anthem of my country. I salute to a national flag. What if there is a constitution of a whole world? What if there is a flag which belongs to the whole world? What if there is a national anthem which is for the whole world? Now, if you are wondering that what if, that means it's a utopian thing, let me tell you all these three things are there. What you call human rights charter is the national or international anthem for the whole world. Human rights charter. We all are human beings and everybody should respect the dignity of other human beings, irrespective of your class, your creed, your gender, the color of your skin or whatever. That means there is already an institution like UN, United Nations. I hope you know that, right? So of course there is a setup at global level. But then why is it that a community like Tibet is still suffering and the issue of Tibet is not getting resolved even after, let's say, more than 70 years it's been now? Why then the whole world is not trying to understand the suffering of the others? What is the problem? right? Let's try to talk about that also. So I hope that I made myself clear. When I say cosmopolitanism, I'm not talking about a utopian idea. I'm not talking about a pinky promise which is not going to happen. I'm talking about that all we have to have a better understanding of this concept, so that we all also try to embrace it, and whatever is not acceptable, you can also put it out of the whole discourse of cosmopolitanism. But before that comes a big question. Are we right now cosmopolitans? Are you a cosmopolitan? Do you belong to the whole world? Right? Those who are saying yes or no, let's try to talk about if yes or not. Let's talk about some of the things. Right? A. What about our shopping experience? You go to malls, right? And when you enter in a mall, you have Adidas, you have, a lot of international. You eat at McD, right? You have Rolex to wear, you have BMW and Audi to drive on the road, you have McDonaldization of culture to eat, right? You have Nike shoes to wear, right? You have Apple mobiles. When you are not aware from which country which logo is coming, is it not that you are belonging to the whole world? When it comes on our personal level of living in our everyday experience, is it not that we forget that Apple comes from which country, Nike comes from, even sometimes we are not even aware, right? You'll be surprised to know that 80% of the world population, right, half of them which we hate Chinese government, buy everything which is made by China, knowingly or unknowingly, right? That means you like it or not, sometime we have entered into a big bubble of cosmopolitanism. Now, when you have already entered into this bubble of cosmopolitanism, it's better that you understand it. Otherwise, it's going to create a claustrophobia, the lack of oxygen for all of us in this bubble, and kill us if we do not understand what are the pros and cons of this dangerous reality around which we all are surrounded today. Either it is the capitalism, either it is our shopping experience, or let me give you another example. When I watch cricket, right, I want to clap for India, and it pains, it gives me a lot of angst if Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli gets out. But what about IPL? Do you know what is IPL? Right? Where now there is no one country team. There is no one nation. There is Virat Kohli, there is one Pakistani cricketer, there is a Sri Lankan cricketer, the captain can be somebody else, somebody from South Africa, and they are a team. For whom do you clap then? You got my point what I'm saying? That means now you do not have national identities always. Right? You like it or not, but you have to clap for a team which is a cosmopolitan team. Right? Let me give you another example of the changes which are taking place around us. Did you watch the movie Avenger? Right? Let's talk about this movie from a critical perspective. Who are these Avengers? There is this sentence. Oh my God, there is a terror. There is a problem on the whole world. We have to save the whole world. Right? So who is there? There is one Captain America. The name suggests that he belongs to one particular country. But then there is an alien, Mr. Thor, who comes from another galaxy to save the human being here. There is one great green big human being whom you call Hulk. Right? There is now, if you know, let me show you this. Look at that. Right? Now look at that. These are the heroes who are going to save the earth. And look at this man. He comes from Africa, right? Look at this character, he is an animal. Look at these human beings, these are aliens. Look at that, who is almost a doctor. And look at this, this is you guys with this technology around you. Half machine, half human beings. You don't have to have machine on you, right? Today when you talk about your identity, your mobile, your laptop is a kind of tool in all of your hands, right? Then you have this green man, a lady who can fly. Now when you talk about a movie like this, which across the globe earned 50 billion rupees in its 2 weeks, what was the reason that it was liked by the people across the globe so much? And in India, it earned a lot of money. Why? Because actually even those people who are criticizing cosmopolitanism, right, they have gone to watch this movie, and you like this because these are the heroes which are going to save the whole world. Now you are not saving one country. Please try to understand the concept. These are minor concepts, but things are taking place around you. As I said, you are entering in a bubble of cosmopolitanism. If you will not understand it properly, it's going to tighten its grasp on all of you. Right? So let me quickly go back and let's talk about some of the ideas which we are going to discuss. So I hope that the concept of cosmopolitanism is making sense to all of you now. I ask you, are you a cosmopolitan or not? Right? You like it or not, we all are today cosmopolitans. Either the food we eat, either the kind of clicks you make on Amazon, and a thing which is available in Italy, on Amazon there is a market which is known as global market. Right? You can easily buy a thing today from Canada, from America, from Africa, from India, any part in India also. You want tea from Kerala, just click and it will be delivered at your hometown, at your home place. Right? That means things are changing around us and we need to have a better understanding of this. Right? So let's try to first define cosmopolitanism. Cosmopolitanism is not a circle created by a culture having radiated from a single center, but rather one whose centers are everywhere and circumferences nowhere. It is everywhere around you. At the same time, the cause is nowhere, the root is nowhere. So it is a circle in which we all are living today. You can call it globe also. But if you are trying to analyze where is the cause, from where it is starting, you will not know it. Right? Why not? Cosmopolitanism is not just, or perhaps not at all, an idea. Cosmopolitanism is infinite ways of being. It's the way we live. It's the way you interact with each other. Right? Let me give you another very small example. In our university even, the moment you come in BA English Honours, right, and you start to read, what do you read? You read William Shakespeare, you read Milton, Dryden, Pope, Tennyson, right? The kind of books you read is Dan Brown and all. What are you doing? Are you reading something selectively from your country? No. Literature is also cosmopolitan. Movies are also. Look at the songs which you listen to. Right? So what I am saying is, first you have to be aware that there is no choice to be or not to be cosmopolitans. Even you don't like it, you are today a cosmopolitan. Because as consumers, you are consuming cosmopolitanism inside you. And sometimes it's unwilling, unknowable consumption of the culture, the other's culture. Right? Okay. When we talk about cosmopolitanism and the theories given into the word, these are the types of cosmopolitanism available for you. Right? Almost more than 60 types of cosmopolitanism. I'm not going to talk about all of them because the idea is not that we immediately in 1 hour learn everything. Right? I'm going to leave these PPTs here. It is already copied here. I want all of you to understand at least, see, there are 2 ways we can discuss in this lecture. That I read out every slide and we try to learn everything. That's not possible in 1 hour. So it's better that I pick up one question, one issue, and we try to understand the nature of that issue properly. Right? Is it a faulty concept? Some of the people say that no, cosmopolitanism is a hoax. It's a problem. Problem of what? It is against nationalism. It is betrayal of motherland. It is only for elite class. It is the glib euphemism for Americanism, new empire or imperialism. It demonetizes the other, especially that other which is inferior. It justifies the war. It is nihilistic and it is a starry-eyed utopia which is never going to happen. Right? Because the old cosmopolitans gave a very wrong concept of cosmopolitans. And they said, if there is poverty across the globe, it is the duty of some of the rich countries to give some money to poor countries. Right? Let's talk about us. If I am earning today 1 lakh rupees, my salary, should I give it to the peon outside who is just sitting? Will I do that? Should we do that? If you have 30 rupees with you and a boy is dying outside, right? Does it happen? I mean, is it practical that we give out money like this? This is one of those possessions which we never want to give. We even don't give it to a thief who has put that revolver on our head and wants to take our, purse from us. We even will die for that money. So of course human beings are not going to distribute the wealth like this. As people say, cosmopolitanism talks about the equal distribution and all blah blah blah. That's where it has failed. Right? So I'm making a very subtle distinction. Why? The problem is, why did it fail? Because the way we have got our upbringing, because the way we have been taught in universities is wrong. Right? When we were children, a mother will give you one chocolate and will teach you कि बेटा आपका जन्मदिन है, ये चॉकलेट है, but आधा आधा काट के फ्रेंड्स को भी देना. राइट? बट जब आप कॉलेज में जाने लगते हो ना, तो वही मदर आपको बोलती है, ये ले 50 रुपए, दोस्तों को चाय मत पिला देना, खुद कुछ खाना. And a problem starts. The problem starts in our education. The problem is the way we select the vocabulary about how do we treat the others. Right? Why? Because others today are treated with the concept either of suspicion or danger. We don't call them other. We have names for others. We call them aliens. We call them enemies. Right? We call them terrorists. When there is another, for instance, you are traveling in a car or in a bus or in a train, and in your bogie, somebody else has come and sat down there. How do you treat the other? Do you start to talk with that person? No. We always have fear of others. We think, अरे बाप रे, कहीं ये बिस्किट में जहर तो नहीं खिला देगा, मुझे बता. और रेलवे पे आपको दिखाया रहता है, टीवी पे दिखाते हैं, कोई भी अनजान आदमी से खाना मत लीजिए. और आपको रेलवे सिखा रहा है. जैसे ही आप रेल में एंटर करते हो, आप बोलते हो, अरे बाप रे, ये आदमी मेरी तरफ क्यों देख रहा है. राइट? ये तो देख रहा है कहीं मेरे जूते तो नहीं चुरा लेगा. Right? And you keep. Now this is a very dangerous vocabulary. Now with this kind of vocabulary, you are not going to be a cosmopolitan citizen of the world. Then what should I do? Should I be open to the danger? Should I embrace the other blindly? No, no. We are going to discuss about this. What should we do? And actually what we have done, right? So some of these things I have just made because I'm leaving these PPTs here in case some of you are more curious and want to write further paper or research. These are the books which are the foundational books. This got published in 1980s by Martha Nussbaum, and this is another by Martha Nussbaum. Look at that, For Love of Country. And let me give you one advice as a teacher. Never ever read philosophical books about idea. Read the books where one professor has written one paper and 80 professors have gone against that paper. So look at this book, For Love of Country, Debating the Limits of Patriotism. Here Martha Nussbaum published one paper and 18 scholars have written against it. It will open up your capacity to debate with each other. I always tell students you should read books of such nature. Right? And 1980, the same lady published Larth, 23rd of August 2019, this book came out. The Cosmopolitan Tradition, look at the subtitle, A Noble but Flawed Idea. It's a noble idea, but a flawed idea. Because Western civilization has been trying to demonize the other. Right? According to this philosopher, Ulrich Beck, today we are living in the global risk society. We are not living in the world. We are living in a global risk society. And he says it is the tragedy which is going to bind all of us together than comedy. Right? For instance, in India also there is a problem between Hindus and Muslims and all. But when Kargil was fought, irrespective of either you are a poor or a rich or a Muslim or a Hindu, everybody contributed towards country. Right? So even in Tibetan plateau, according to the geographical region, there is a lot of diversity. You may have your differences based on your sampradaya, but when it will come on the integrity of nation and survival of a country, all of you will forget your differences and will come together. The same way, today world is suffering with some common problems. Either it is melting of the glaciers or burning off the lungs of the world, Amazon forest, right? Or the kind of activities which we had done, or what is happening in Hong Kong recently. I'm going to talk about all of them. So this has come from Ulrich Beck's book, in which he said, we are today the citizens of which world? A global risk society. Right? Let's talk about some of those risks. I'm not going to read this, not important. Some other books. So these are just books I have picked up so that you can read them. Very important. Look at this book, Debating Cosmopolitanism. Again, small papers by such great theorists. Right? So I'm going to skip all of these. These are just for your reference sake. Now, these are two books I would like to discuss in a while because they are going to be very important for all of you. And I want at least two or one student among this gathering who after my lecture makes a promise to do a little bit more research and write a good paper on contribution of Dalai Lama, right, on this concept of cosmopolitanism, because his contribution is really something we should all cherish. Let's talk about this. This is one book, The Universe in a Single Atom. Look at the title even of the book. Look at the title. What an eye-capturing title. And his discussion with Desmond Tutu. He himself is a great cosmopolitan Christian saint who talks about forgiveness, reconciliation, love, and all those ideas, right? Now, when we talk about old and new cosmopolitanism, look at this word, 9/11. Do you know what is 9/11? Right? What is 9/11? You said yes, sir. Yes, there was a terrorist attack, but that's the new 9/11 you are talking about. You will be surprised to know that there was one more 9/11, which was the fall of the Berlin Wall. Do you know about this historical moment? यूरोप को बांट दिया गया था कुछ कंट्रीज के बीच में, और एक ही कंट्री जर्मनी में एक वॉल बना दी गई थी. इधर वाले लोग उधर वाले लोगों से नहीं मिल पाते थे, जो आज बॉर्डर पे हो गया. पाकिस्तान में कई इंडियंस हैं, कई फैमिलीज हैं जिनके बेटे यहाँ रह रहे हैं और मदर वहां रह रही है और वो एक दूसरे से मिल नहीं पा रहे. राइट? इसको उल्टा पढ़िए 11/9. सो लुक एट दैट. 11/9 is the creative imagination. Right? This was the fall of the Berlin Wall. When the world first time gave that idea, people like us, they literally pulled down the wall and they said, let's embrace our friends, our enemies, whosoever it is. And then happened 9/11, which immediately created another wall. A wall between nations, a wall between religion, and every Muslim after 9/11 was looked at as a terrorist. Right? So you had put certain tokens on a whole community that these are these people, that's why they should be treated like this. So there is a destructive 9/11 and there is a constructive 9/11. Constructive 9/11 is gone. Now we are living into the era of destructive 9/11. I'm not going to talk about these, so let's skip these. New cosmopolitanism. Let's talk a bit about that. Before that, as my subtitle says, from Kant to Dalai Lama. So let's talk about Immanuel Kant, because according to me, he's a very, very important theorist in this regard. What does he say? He says that there has to be a possibility of perpetual peace. And if there has to be a perpetual peace, there are three ideas which are important. The idea of human rights, the idea of human dignity, and later on what Hannah Arendt call, listen this phrase carefully, the right to have rights. Right? Look at this term. The right to have rights. If you are trapped in a dangerous situation, especially how Indian government today is treating the people in Kashmir, I'm pretty blunt, open and critical about some of the ideas, right? When there is a problem, you as human beings are not even entitled to have rights to have rights. You can say it is my right to go to college, it is my right to go and shop around. No, they'll say no, you are deprived of all those rights. Right? These theories talked about this, but how do we implement it is a very, very dangerous thing. Right? So let's talk about this. According to me, Dalai Lama, throughout his life, right, more than his books and more than his preaching, the way he has stood across the globe today is a living example of a cosmopolitan soul who belongs to one country, at the same time doesn't belong to any country. Who is a Tibetan, but at the same time, everybody across the globe today, after Gandhi, right, everybody across the globe will be telling you about Dalai Lama. People love him, right? They have started to accept the culture which is Tibetan culture, and he has made the Tibetan culture as an international way of living, way of understanding and all. Right? There are some of the sayings I have just picked up from, right, images for all of you. All of you are aware of these. These are Buddhist. I am very curious about his one concept which was picked up by this Vietnamese Buddhist scholar, the concept of interbeing. Right? For instance, look at that. I'll give you this common example. Every day you get up because you have to go to classes. right? And you say, आज क्लास नहीं जाऊंगा मैं, बकवास पढ़ाते हैं सर तो, right? क्या रोज रोज क्लास, छुट्टी भी नहीं है, सैटरडे भी नहीं आया वापस, because you are thinking that it is only about you, it is because of you, right? You have taken it on your own self, right? Now let's reverse the picture and think about this, that your teacher might have got up at 5 o'clock, right, to reach to the class to teach you. A government has made a university for you. There are 10 peons who have come from their home to open up the lock of this university, right? And everybody is actually preparing for that small event, which for you is a class. And you make a decision on your individuality, I'll not go to class. If a rose thinks that I should be proud because I'm a rose forgets that a rose actually is a rose because of the thorns associated with that, because of the sun which is there, because of the rain which is there, and because of all these accumulative forces, you are what you are. So you do not exist by yourself. We exist with the concept of interbeing. We all are connected together. Today you are sitting in front of me. I prepared these lectures long back, so I worked hard for that. Right? Today some of you like, अरे ये कब खत्म होगा, कब जाएगा, क्या बकवास किए जा रहा है, cosmopolitanism क्या होता है? But then think about this. That's the exact concept I'm talking. You cannot claim that yes sir I'm a cosmopolitan with this kind of heart where we dismiss the hard work, the work, or even the existence of others. You have to understand this, that you exist because I exist because you exist, and we both can exist in relationship with each other. The concept of interbeing. I have not come across a better practical way of living than this Buddhist concept. I'm going to talk to you about this in a while. This is one very important picture which went viral that time when Dalai Lama had come to a university, a Christ University, and he gave a lecture. That's where he defined cosmopolitanism in his own way. It's freely available on internet. I'll request all of you to go and read this, Peace and Prosperity. And he called this the fundamental human condition. He said that we all are human, and there is one basic concept in all of us, that we breathe, we require respect from each other, right? We also have to give certain things to others. At the same time, we need to take certain things from others, right? So we all exist as we are interconnected with each other, right? And then he took this picture with the chorus of that university, the students, and it went viral because this first time had given a different kind of cosmopolitanism, the cosmopolitanism of interbeing existence, right? Look at this main idea, embracing the beauty of diversity in our world. You respect the other, respect the diversity of other, don't impose your ideas on other. Remember, you should not be imposing on somebody else. जैसे मैं एक simple सा आपको concept बताता हूँ. Usually, how do we talk as human beings? You will say, अरे सर ये लड़का ऐसा ही है सर, मैं इसको पूरा जानता हूँ सर, right? आप इस पे trust मत कीजिएगा. When we use this language, what are you saying? You are saying that the human being is not capable to grow, develop, and surprise you. Human beings are not like that. Somebody who was a thief yesterday can be a saint today. Let us keep our hopes alive and never have this totalitarian language. अरे सर मैं तो इसको जानती हूँ, मैं तो बनारस को जानता हूँ, ये गंदी सिटी है सर, मैं दिल्ली को जानता हूँ सर, मैं यूएन को जानता हूँ, मैं यूएस. No, we don't know because we have no capacity to know. Why? Because the other is capable to change, grow, surprise. So never have this totalitarian vocabulary by saying, no, I know her or I know him, he is like this. Who are you to pass the judgment like this? Who are you to freeze the identity of somebody else like this? Just a common example, but please do not use even vocabulary like this. It is never cosmopolitan in its sense, right? I don't know if I'm going to read all the slides or not, but let's read this. This is pretty interesting. In today's highly interdependent world, we all are interdependent. We think कि पाकिस्तान अपने आप exist कर रहा है, इंडिया कर रहा है, नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. Interdependent world, individuals and nations can no longer resolve many of their problems by themselves. We need one another. It is our collective and individual responsibility to protect and nurture the global family, to support its weaker members and to preserve and tend to the environment in which we all live. A beautiful manifesto of cosmopolitan idealism, which I was talking to you about. Right? You think that you exist by yourself, but it's not true. It's not true. Lot of people are working so that you can exist. Right? We are sitting here, but somebody is already preparing for your lunch. Right? Somebody is capable to prepare for lunch because some farmers had already grown those vegetables. Right? They were capable to grow those vegetables because God Almighty had poured the proper rains, and so on. There are 1,000 things which I cannot say. All I want is you to understand it. That please do not dismiss a thali which comes in front of you with a negative derision by saying कि यार ये कोई खाना है, रोज दाल देते हैं मुझे, बकवास, इस कैंपस में मैं अच्छा खाना नहीं मिलता. एक चीज़ ध्यान रखिएगा कि जब आपको कुछ मिल रहा है उसी वक्त अफ्रीका जैसी कंट्री में कुछ बच्चे हैं जो भूख के कारण आज मर जाएंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि या तो आपने उनका खाना वेस्ट कर दिया है या आज उनका खाना किसी और कंट्री ने खा लिया. वी आर इंटरकनेक्टेड लाइक दिस, राइट? सो वॉट एवर इज गिवन टू यू, please learn to respect that. Otherwise, none of us have any right to call ourselves follower of Dalai Lama. None of us have any rights to keep photographs like this and light a lamp if you do not understand the basic concept that first you have to understand this, that you belong to the whole global world. There are weaker people who will need us more than what we need. Now, what is the idea? The idea is, if you can afford, right? There is this beautiful concept of a theorist, Peter Singer. He says, if I have a very important duty and a boy is dying, right, because he is drowning in a river, should I save? The theory is, you save if you can afford to. Right? Rohingyas को इंडिया ने आने दिया या नहीं आने दिया is a contestable issue. But should a country open up its arm and allow 70 million people to enter in this? What will happen to the people of its own country? Right? So this is, I don't want to go into political theories because we are talking about ethical theories. But remember, ethics and politics are not enemies of each other. There is a beautiful idea by one of the political theorists who says, ethics without politics is clueless, and politics without ethics is totalitarian and blind. Right? So we need the mixing of both the things, and this man alone, single-handedly, is a champion of both ethical and political rights of not Tibetan, but of weaker community. Right? Look at that. Long back in America, one poet, Walt Whitman, also said the same thing in a very poetic sense. What did he say? I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume, you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. Look at the title of the book of Dalai Lama. What was the title of the book? Right? Now this was inspired by Dalai Lama's international reading. राइट? दलाई लामा से हमें क्या सीखना चाहिए? आप हर कंट्री का लिटरेचर पढ़िए, हर लैंग्वेज का लिटरेचर पढ़िए. क्या पता कौन सी एक बुक आपको एक बुक का आइडिया दे दे. क्या पता मेरा ये लेक्चर, राइट, आप में से किसी को एक रिसर्च पेपर या पीएचडी या आपकी एमफिल के लिए कुछ आइडिया दे दे. Right? You cannot be cosmopolitan if you will deny and dismiss the other countries' specific cultures. Right? So you have to embrace this. This one concept of Whitman, which he has accepted, that I loved Walt Whitman and he gave me. Walt Whitman is famous for his cosmopolitan kind of sensibility like this. Now, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this name, so I decided to only call him Professor Han. Right? The theorist, you know him, right? The Buddhist. Look at his idea. In the light of interbeing, peace and happiness in your daily life means peace and happiness in the world. I'm going to explain his concept because I loved his idea of interbeingness. So we are going to talk about that a lot. Now, the world we are living in. Let's talk about your identity also in this so that you will be part of this presentation. There is a theorist, Arjun Appadurai. Whatever he said is a bit difficult. Let's try to simplify this. Today, we all are citizens of the world because we watch same movies. A movie which is released in America, you also want to watch. A writer like Premchand, who was writing sometime else in one part of village, is read by everybody else, right? We want to enjoy our technical You know, the logos which are associated with your phone, with your IDs. You enjoy Google. All of you have Gmail IDs. You chat on WhatsApp, right? Is it created by one particular country? Right? So he said that you like it or not, today we all are surrounded by so many global spaces. What are those spaces? One is ethno spaces. People are moving from one country to another today. There is cheap airfare, because of which now lot of people are crossing the boundaries of one nation to another. For job, for security, for education, for marriage, whatever is the reason. But there is now a comparatively larger flow from one country to another country, which is defying the national identity. अभी नरेंद्र मोदी जी हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर, आपको पता है, न्यूयॉर्क गए थे, ह्यूस्टन गए थे, and the diaspora, Indian diaspora which is living there, 50,000 people, they celebrated it before Diwali like a Diwali. Why? Because ultimately we are imagined communities, right? I do not have to be a Tibetan by birth, or I do not have to be wearing clothes like this to be called a Tibetan. I am also a Tibetan by my personal virtue and a wish that I want to be associated with your cause of fight and right to have rights. Call me also Tibetan for that perspective, right? Now this I gave you the example of, these are the logos around us. You just buy them without knowing which country they come from. Have you ever bothered कि एक सामान खरीदने से पहले आप ये पता करें कि कौन सी country का है? Do we do that? No. So in our shopping experience, this is the best, in our shopping experience, in our movie watching experience, in our songs experience, and the politics of logo, we all are cosmopolitanism. Or the cars which are on the road, look at the logos. Everybody, something from Germany, something for Switzerland, right? Pizza you eat is Italian concept. Chinese you eat noodles is, right? Continental Thai food. You go to Banaras and have bati chokha. It's a beautiful world around us, right? Now, a very serious idea. I want all of you to have a look at this slide very critically, right? More than population of UP, London, the whole United Kingdom, France, Germany is the population of the people who are forcibly displaced people worldwide. Right? 70 million लोग दुनिया में वेट कर रहे हैं वापस अपनी कंट्रीज में जाने के लिए. Right? अब इनका भी डिमार्केशन है. Out of these, 41.3 million are internationally displaced people, 25.9 million are refugees, and 3.5 million are asylum seekers. Right? So, do we discuss, do we talk about them also? Are these people somewhere alive and visible in the world population also? And what kind of work these people are doing about their own identity and culture? Let's talk about that. These are where they are actually living, the highest number, the less number and all, right? So you can look at these, some of the datas. I'm leaving PPTs here. I want all of you to go through these PPTs carefully, right? Later. Now, who is a cosmopolitan? Usually, who is considered as a cosmopolitan? An English-speaking, sophisticated globe traveler, whom you call trotter, high-tech technocrat, and art sport aficionado, flaneur, academicians like Said, Bhabha, and Spivak. That means, to be a cosmopolitan, first, you have to belong to the whole world, but where do we love to go? We have to love to go to metropolitan cities like London, New York, Germany. Nobody wants to come and die in a village of Bihar. Right? Then what kind of cosmopolitans we are, where we are moving only towards rich metropolitan countries. You got my point? So I want to be metropolitan, but then I want all the privileges for me. I don't want poor countries, poor. जैसे मैं हमेशा एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ कि आपको अगर आज एक ऑप्शन दिया जाए, and be honest, एक ऑप्शन दे कि पाकिस्तान में पढ़ना चाहोगे या लंदन में पढ़ना चाहोगे, right? Immediately we have our choices, but then we'll say, I am a cosmopolitan yet. Now then there is a problem in this concept of cosmopolitanism, right? But then we can learn from certain people whose life has been an amazing example of cosmopolitans. Look at that. Mahatma Gandhi, a man who was born somewhere, got his education from South Africa, fought for the rights of South African people, influenced a person like Nelson Mandela, and then came and fought in India and died in a poor condition. Look at the way he lived, right? Rabindranath Tagore, though comparatively a rich boy, a rich person, traveled across the globe, learnt the languages, rights, and being a Bengali gave the national anthem of this country. Right? Aurobindo. I'm not going to talk about everyone's life, but this person you should learn one philosophy from. I don't know how many of you have not. If not, please do plan a visit. In South India, there is a village known as Auroville, right, near Pondicherry. What is the concept of that village? This village is after name of Sri Aurobindo. There is a big pot, right, and there are 80 people from different countries. They bring the soil of their country, they put and pour into that pot, and they are living there. There is no money transaction in this city. If you are a doctor, you work for people. If I am a teacher, I will teach. By the end, you will get your food. There are 80 families across the globe who are living in a poor village of India, Auroville, the city of the dawn, a beautiful cosmopolitan coexistence, right? Then you have somebody like Nelson Mandela, right? And then you have the greatest man who today's world almost have overshadowed all of them, because he quintessentially talks about all of their ideas together. And by the way, I'm not talking to you because I want to please you ki dekho main Dalai Lama ke, right? I already did my PhD on this concept of Dalai Lama's one. My PhD in 2015 was submitted, in which one chapter was on the concept of Dalai Lama. So when I had a choice to go to and join, I got selected at 3 universities: IIT, BHU, and this university. My wife literally was very angry when I decided that I'll go here, because she was at BHU. She said, let's be at BHU. We both will come together, go together. I said, no. If I have read and did my PhD and I have understood, let me go and work for the students who really need English teachers. For them, education has to have a meaning. So for me, it was a willful choice to look. I'm not saying that look at me, I did something. I'm just sharing my personal one experience. Please do not think that. And I'm not showing you the photo of Dalai Lama again and again so that this is an amazing luck that when he came to me कि sir आपको एक lecture देना है, and I said recently I'm also writing a book on this concept, right, from Kant to Dalai Lama. So I said why not to share with the community some of the ideas, right? क्या होता है ना, कई बार हम अपने ही लोगों के आइडिया को अच्छे से नहीं समझ पाते हैं. कई बार when somebody comes from outside and opens up a different discourse, we are capable to have a new look at the works of the people we have been taking for granted. Right? So my aim is just to open up a new perspective for all of you, and if you are already aware of that, it's okay, great thing. But if you are not, we are going to open up a new chapter, right? What is the time? How long I can talk? Because I have very important few things to. Because time is a problem with me, I know that. So is there a lecture immediately scheduled after my lecture, or I will take 10-15 more minutes? That's what I'm asking. Okay, let's continue, they'll come back to this, right? So today we all are living in a risk society. So to be cosmopolitan is not a privilege now, it is the demand of the hour. Right? We all will have to bind together, because we all on global level are suffering with some common problems. Global risk society. What kind of problems I'm talking about? One is green crime and global risk. You know about environmental problems. I don't have to talk about that in detail. But what Dalai Lama had to say about this, have a look at that. Fires in Amazon rainforest have increased by 84% this year. And being an Indian, why I have to bother about what is happening in Brazil if these jungles are being burnt? Why? Because these jungles are known as the lungs of planet. यहाँ से पूरी दुनिया के लिए 80% ऑक्सीजन निकलती है. जो आप हवा यहाँ ले रहे हैं ना, ये ब्राजील के अमेजन के जंगलों के कारण आ रही है, जो 80% जल चुके हैं. राइट? पिछले 4 सालों से वहां आग लगी हुई है. इज इट? अब मैं क्या करूं? मैं क्या यहां से बाल्टी ले जाके वहां पे गिरा के आऊं? नहीं, नहीं. एटलीस्ट बी अवेयर, एटलीस्ट रेज योर वॉइस, एटलीस्ट डोंट लेट सच इंसिडेंट हैपन एट योर प्लेस. That's how we can contribute as humans. If we are not even aware of that, and then you say in conferences that I'm a cosmopolitan, then there is a problem. Then there is this double standard which I am talking about. Look at that, what Dalai Lama once said. This blue planet is our home and Tibet is its roof. Blue planet matlab Mother Earth, right? And Tibet is its roof. The Tibetan plateau needs to be protected not just for Tibetans but for the health and sustainability of the entire world. Right? And that time when I was doing PhD, I wanted to understand what he meant to say. And I read geography of Tibet, and that time I came to know about Sowa Rigpa. And I'm so happy I do understand that there has to be preservation of those rare herbs which are coming from Himalaya, because the whole world by the end is going to need them, and when we will need it, there will be no longer the plateau which is being exploited by Chinese people for its capitalism. Right? They are exploiting almost all the minerals out of this plateau, and when they will give it back to Tibet, what will be the use of that when everything almost good has been wrapped out of this, right? So he talked about this, again a global concern. Now here, before I show you something, let's try to understand this philosophical and sociological concept. Whenever you watch news, there are two types of news, right, known as adventure news and ecstatic news. Let's go to the second paragraph. Adventure news and ecstatic news, she argues, the theorist argues, employ a communitarian logic, their representation of suffering. Adventure news blocks the option of pity for the suffering of people who are not like us. Right? So when I come to know, oh my God, one Tibetan student has immolated himself in a university, I'll say, oh my God, this happened to a Tibetan, but he is not an Indian. So I have problem and I be compassionate towards the suffering, but this is suffering of others. Right? Now, this is how you watch news. This is how you read newspaper. क्या करते हैं हम? थोड़ा सा ध्यान से देखिए. आप newspaper पढ़ते हैं. You just with a lot of, a kind of etiquettes, open up the newspaper and you just move the newspaper like this without having a compassionate heart to read about a girl who died in Bihar or a girl who got raped in Delhi or people who died in China. You will say, नहीं चाइना में मरे, चाइना के लोगों का मैं नहीं पढ़ूंगा, या उस लड़की का नाम मैं क्यों याद रखूं, बट एंड में आप बोलो बट नहीं सर मैं कॉस्मोपॉलिटन हूं. नहीं है हम जब टीवी देखते हैं, हम जब मूवीज देखते हैं, the suffering of others is looked at us like this, oh they are not like us, I have a compassion and empathy towards them, but they are not like us. There is a need of a different kind of news which we call, look at that, the second one, whereas ecstatic news enacts the communitarian logic by expanding globally a demand for action on suffering that is our own and at the same time not our own. Right? Don't just be compassionate, do something, act. So when Dalai Lama requested this, when things around us are happening, did we do anything like this? Look at that, some of the things which took place. I hope all of you know this girl. Right? What is the name? Now, those of you who are sitting in this room and even don't know the name of this girl justifies what I just said. We even do not have time. राइट, ये न्यूज़ आप सबके व्हाट्सएप पे सबके कहीं ना कहीं आई होगी. कई बार हम न्यूज़ को पढ़ते हैं और डिसमिस कर देते हैं. प्लीज डोंट डू दैट. स्पेंड अ मोमेंट एंड इफ पीपल आर सफरिंग, it is our suffering as well. At least show that compassionate passion towards reading. Right? What was caused? Greta Thunberg, what was caused because of her? Why I have shown you this picture? Look at the anger. I'm going to associate this anger with something else, and look at that, what happened. Across the world, right? Future for Friday campaign, including our campus. One day when I entered in the morning, students say, "Sir, आप अंदर नहीं जा सकते हो. Campaign is going on. You have to sign." And I was very happy to see. अब देखिए क्या होता है. कुछ चीजें तो हम सिर्फ दिखाने के लिए करते हैं. Then I asked them. I said, do you know this girl? Do you know what happened? And those students were really aware of what was. And I was so happy that I am teaching in a university where students are not only compassionate about suffering of people who are not like us, but they are capable to join hands. But at the same time, वही student जब मुझे दूसरे दिन क्लास में मिले, they were carrying plastic bottles with them. एक सिंपल सी बात मैंने उनसे पूछा, मैंने बोला yesterday we were talking about some of the ideas and all, राइट और उनको मैंने बोला ये एक बार क्लासरूम, इंग्लिश का क्लासरूम आपने देखा है ना, उनको मैंने बोला ये बॉटल्स कलेक्ट करो, एंड देयर वर 15 बॉटल्स व्हिच वर थ्रोन इन दैट इंग्लिश क्लासरूम. स्टिल डस्टबिन में मैंने निकलवाई नहीं वहाँ से. मैंने बोला नाउ इफ वी डू थिंग्स लाइक दिस, right? So all of you who are sitting in this room today, if you want to be yourself calling cosmopolitan, whatever you did yesterday, day before yesterday, and if you go outside and buy a single-use plastic, a water bottle, then please understand this, that none of us have any rights to call us whatever, the Avengers or the cosmopolitan people to save nature. No, no, please do not do that. Instead of buying a water bottle, carry your own bottles, right? Even if you buy a bottle, pour the water in that and give that bottle back to that person to ensure that either it is crushed properly or thrown back. Tell the shopkeepers that you do not need them. Please do not carry plastic bags when you are going outside to buy vegetables. Carry your own bag. These small things, if I will fail you to realize, then the lecture of such things will not make any sense to any one of you, right? Now, this is something which I told you that we are going to be part of this lecture, right? This is the campus where I teach. This is the campus you all belong to. This is the campus we all belong to, right? And trust me, I'm writing a paper where all these photographs are also part of that paper. I want to ensure that the small things and the changes which our students are doing at our campus should be circulated on international level, right? Look at that. Some of you may be sitting here also, right? Yeah. So a very small thing happening in a distant place of Sarnath, how people will come to know? People will come to know because we will circulate it on YouTube. We will circulate it on Facebook. How did I come to know? I was not present that time there. But I came to know this news via. So you all have a weapon in your hands. Social media. प्लीज डू नॉट थिंक कि एक छोटा सा काम एक गांव में एक कॉर्नर में हो रहा है वो ग्लोबल कैसे बनेगा. देयर इज अ सेइंग इन योर कैंपस व्हेन यू वॉक अराउंड व्हिच इज व्हाट, थिंक लोकली, एक्ट ग्लोबली. दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. थिंक, act locally, but at the same ensure that it circulates globally also. Not for the sake of saying only, but the sake of how do we mean by this, right? Now, what are other things which are happening around world? How much time do we have? So like 10 minutes I can take. So I'll try to wrap it up in 10 minutes because I want to show you a very interesting thing. A part of my research as well as a very interesting thing which recently happened. This is what happened in Hong Kong. Right? If you're following some news, you know that Hong Kong is also fighting against China in a very disciplined manner. They are using internet, they are using Facebook. Did people do something like that in revolutions earlier also? Yes. And why I'm discussing about that in Cosmopolitan chapter? I'll tell you. Look at that. There are now different avatars of cosmopolitanism, and it all happened because of these I'm skipping because we have to go a bit fast. I'm going to skip all of these. Yeah, let us first come back to this idea, right? I'm sorry I had to skip, so maybe you will not be able to connect it, but I'll try my best to connect it together. Thich Nhat Hanh, did I pronounce it correct? Right? He had given this concept that to be is to interbe. You cannot just be by yourself alone, you have to interbe with every other thing. Let's try to understand this concept with an example. This is the example I love. Often when we say I love you, we focus mostly on the idea of the I. I love you, the subject. We teach you in English grammar. Now look at that. Who is doing the loving and less on the quality of the love that's being offered? This is because we are caught up by the idea of self. We think we have a self, but there is no such thing as individual separate self. Now look at the example. A flower is made only of non-flower elements such as chlorophyll, sunlight, water. If we were to remove all the non-flower elements from the flower, there would be no flower left. Right? The same idea is with us human beings. Please do not think that it is you who exists by yourself. Or I should not think that I prepared a lecture, so I exist by myself. When I enter in a class and my students don't come, I'm not a teacher. Right? And when you are in a class and I don't come as a teacher, you are not a class. But we both are standing outside of the gate because peon has not brought the key. We are not a class at all. So things are interconnected. I'm giving you minute example, but you have to understand the bigger implication. the ethical implication of all of this, right? I want to skip these things because I want to come to yes, there is a change which is happening around words today, which I want all of you to be immediately part of, right? We in sociological theory call it neotribes. In 2010, when I was doing PhD, one boy immolated himself in Middle East. He was a vegetable seller, something happened wrong, police wala was suppressing him and he burned himself. Do you know what happened because of this? In the 8 countries of Middle East, right, Arab Spring took place and thousands of people came on road. I being an Indian also started to write for them, right? And we all connected together because we willingly became neo-tribes. So there is a new concept, right? Cosmopolitan neo-tribes. Who are these neo-tribes? Just look at some of the slogans which we get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. For what kind of revolutions of 2010? Then occupation revolution took place in 2011. 2012 Nirbhaya Kand happened in India, right? I was in Hyderabad that time. A girl was raped in Delhi. Thousands of us students booked tickets and we went to Delhi and we showed our solidarity with the people, right? So look at that. These are 2 books which now have associated the idea of cosmopolitanism and the idea of social movements together. You can be cosmopolitan in this way also, especially the youth. Because remember, you are equipped with social media like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And even sitting in this campus, you can raise your voice for what Dalai Lama said, for the compassion of weaker people. Write about them, know about them, think about them, discuss their issues. Right? So look at that. Occupy Wall Street, rise of neo-tribes. Look at this crowd. I just want to show you some of the photos. These things you can. Now look, this revolution will be tweeted. Revolution tools, no AK-47, no machete, Twitter and Facebook. These are the powerful tools even in the hands of the girls who were wearing burqa. So do not think that you are weak. Do not think that you need, how would you get the international recognition? Whenever you are doing something for the global warming, global community, ensure that it is circulated globally, right? Look at that. And another word is possible where the weaker people's voice will be heard. Sorry for the inconvenience, we are trying to change the world, right? These are the slogans which were used by young people like you and me. Look, this is what we made in JNU that time by Aisa. 2 आंखें हैं तुम्हारी तकलीफ का उमड़ता हुआ समंदर, इस दुनिया को जितनी जल्दी हो बदल देना चाहिए, right? Look at this on Twitter. You remember I showed you the angry picture of that girl? Now she called herself Angry Arabia. She said, when you are in chains, living with no dignity or rights, bowing to criminal dictators, the first step is to forget your fear and realize that it's your right to be angry. To show the people they are not treating the other people well. She was living very peacefully in America, but she came to Arab to fight and she died also. What was the need for a girl who was in America earning well, came to Arab? Because she realized that the people there are suffering, right? We are interconnected this way. Again, the angry face, right? Now look at that. We are the 99%, those who are being suppressed by only 1% people across the globe, right? Global democracy now. Now, in these revolutions, you use semiotic symbols also, right? Like, मुंह पे पट्टी बांधना, रोज लेके, या ना, you are not using a language, right? You are using symbols to show that you are showing your resistance towards all these things, right? And you know, these will take me to another way. Now I want to add up with this. Can local art and a single man and local people also make a difference in this, right? This question. So let me share with all of you and I'll end up with this. This will only take now 5 minutes. That time when I was working on my PhD, I had gone to Delhi to participate in this kind of gathering, right? It was not my problem, but I wanted to be part of this because it was amazing synergy and energy was created. And I saw a man sitting in the corner, right? And the moment he was talking on phone, I realized that he and I come from the same hometown. जहाँ से मैं हूँ राजस्थान में, वहीं से वो था. So I was curious that what are you doing here? He did not know English. He is a common Marwadi artist, and he said, I have come here to narrate the rape of Sita. Right? I said rape of Sita. हम यहाँ निर्भया कांड के लिए आए हैं. बोले हाँ भाई जी. Right? That Sita now from the ancient books has now become the girls which are being raped into the buses and all. Now, let me introduce you to this art. I am asking you, can art be a proper method and a tool of revolution? Can the language which is not of English, Hindi or an almost a dying language can be used for this? Yes, right? So let me introduce you to Coward. What is this? This is an art which comes from my hometown. People, those who are untouchable there, carry a temple into their neck. Right? They open the wings of the temple, and on the temple you can see these stories are depicted. They touch that story and narrate the story. What kind of stories are there? The rape of Sita, the abduction of Sita, the humiliation of Draupadi, and all those stories are narrated on this. Now, how it was used into the modern world? Now they have started to use this tool on international level by making a channel where I am also a participant, and I am going to show you that video which we recorded for Jaipur Literary Festival that time in 2010. I helped him, got him picturization, and he is telling the story. Now the religious theme and the common tools of a local narrative artist is being used on a global level to show that even the local artist in a very small form, by using their local art, their culture, their ethnicity, their colors, is also going to be part of a big global community which is saying no to every kind of suppression. Right? So I'll just end up with this. Let's have a look at this. I'm not sure if you'll understand this language, but that's not even I want. It's not necessary that you understand.
ये मंदिर है. बाँटने से पहले हम अगरबत्ती जलाते हैं और इनकी जो आरती बोलते हैं. उनके बाद में हम जो दानी देवी देवता का नाम बाँटते हैं. सुंडाला सुख बंजना सदान बाड़ी बेसारा पहली सिमरिये गौरी पुत्र गणी कबीरा तेरी झोंपड़ी गड़गटिया के पास करे लाभो भरेला तू क्यों भयो उदास. राम और लक्ष्मण सो ने मृगेरो शिकार करने गया. 5 देव रिक्शा करे ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश. राम जी कावड़ है देखू 17 पांडु है राजा पिंडरा पुत्र 5. गलता पांडु हरा दियो जाप अपनी कड़ूकार में कोई धावे नहीं आवे जो जाय. पिकीस पोतारो दादू मान के जमारिया लोटो पानी नहीं पायो खाव में खीरा ओढ़ ने डीरा मिलिया. छतरी खावड़ है वे को बड़ी सिंह जीरो ना बचे है राजा बड़ी हो 2.5 पाउंडा जमीन. विक्रम सिंह जीरो ना बचे है बीकानेर दरबार. छतरी खावड़ है भगवान जी बीकाजीरा दर्शन बचे है. श्री कृष्णा सुने सामने जिया ने नावरी और भगवान रामचंद्र जी के नाम की सीता मैया के नाम की जय.
Because if it's bound in timing, I had to skip a lot of things. So maybe some of the lectures started to dismantle itself. But I'll request all of you to go through the PPTs. I've left the PPTs here. Please circulate among all of them. Right? So thank you so much.